Welcome to Dad Hammer Bolters and Booze, where we discuss all things Warhammer while staying hydrated with an adult beverage. I am David the Warboss, and I am joined by Medicaid Steve.
Hello, hello.
Hey, it worked. New intro. Chief Librarian Lawson.
Hey guys, how's it going?
There it is. And mystery guest, mysterious person has joined from the warp, from the void. We have Mr. Lee, the chaplain. Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you. Blessings. I think that's what I'm supposed to say. Something blessing type thing.
Yeah. Does the Imperium people in the Imperium say blessings ever? I don't think so. They would just murder immediately.
Maybe. Not sure. Or maybe
Not
they
sure.
bless you afterwards. Oh, bless. You tried.
Bless your heart. Yeah. Indeed. Well, welcome, sir. And man, we've got a full house now. Well, technically not, because a full house is 5, but we have 4 of a kind, something around there, poker analogy, and we had to do a different intro to get everybody in here. So this will be good. Got lots.
Are there 4 jokers in the deck? Can we do that?
Yes, right. 4. No, sure. 2 jokers.
2.
I'm just saying.
Okay. We're off to a great start. This is going to be awesome. Well, we have a great show for you, and this show is going to be all about the latest Warhammer Championships Preview. There's a mouthful. They need to come up with a better name for all this stuff. Instead of calling it a preview, they need to call it something else. I don't know what. But they recently had the Warhammer Championships, and so they had an online preview. For those of you who are not aware, where they showed off all kinds of new models, new stuff in the Warhammer world, and it was a lot of cool stuff that was announced. So we're gonna provide our impressions, reactions, words of wisdom, comments, and maybe a little judgment, because I haven't mentioned any kind of Votan judgment in a while, so I need to bring that back. I want to make sure everybody feels appropriately judged, or it's just
Can't let them forget.
I sure was missing that.
Everybody says that about judgment all the time. Sure do wish someone could provide me a little judgment. Well, there'll be plenty of that, I assure you. So got a great show for you. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to rate, follow, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And you could find us on dadhammerpodcast.com, which, if you listen to our last show, we just went through a gift list for anybody that is, on their nice list or your naughty list, I guess. But either way, we got plenty of gifts for everybody, including yourself. So if you don't want to give anything to anyone, you just want to be selfish, well, hey, we have a convenient list for you to look up. So check out the website where we've got a nice list there. And we went through all of that on our last podcast. So check that out too. But first, we're going to start with the most important part of every Dad Hammer podcast, and that is, what are we drinking? I will go first, which is appropriate manners for the host to go first, right? No, but I'm going to do it anyway because.
Warboss.
I have I'm just drinking a beer because Steve's got the fancy Warhammer themed cocktail tonight, but I'm drinking a beer that it sounds terrible, but I think I don't know. Everybody else had a negative reaction to it. It is a Milk and Cookies Imperial Stout, which it has golden raisins, cinnamon, and vanilla in it. And I think, Lee, you said it sounded chunky. Yeah, so I don't know about that. I mean, it's nice. It's good. It's from Wicked Weed Brewing, and it comes in a purple can. And I don't know. I think it's good. It's just different. You got to have something a little different every now and then, right?
Yeah, it's like a meal.
Yeah, it's like dessert, but not. It's an after dinner drink, which I don't know. I think I ate a long time ago, so it's not technically it's after dinner. It's fine. It's not a problem. So that's what I'm drinking. Lawson, what you got? Anything special?
All right, so I changed it up this time just because reasons that we'll get to in a minute. So this time I have a Patterson wine. It is I'm going to butcher this. It's a white wine from New Zealand. from New Zealand. From New Zealand.
I like New
Jeez.
Zealand better.
weird.
That's
This is
that. Is that a Warhammer planet?
it could be.
Yeah.
It is now.
New Zealand. Yes, I like
It
it.
is now a Warhammer planet.
All right, it's okay, buddy. I'm here for you. Keep going.
Thanks, man. It's a Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio. It looks like peanut grits if you spell it out. It's very weird. It spells peanut grits, so henceforth it is known as peanut grits on New Zealand.
Yes, we are wine aficionados on this podcast.
Of course.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I'm sure we've offended at least several very fancy people, but it's okay.
And possibly a few countries.
It's fine. You either roll with the punches or you're not cool enough to hang out with us. Those are the rules.
I like it.
That's what I got this evening.
Very nice. Well, yeah, that is Dadhammer rule number 72. Roll with the punches or you're not cool with us. Not cool to hang out with us. Yeah.
Right.
I like it. All right. So, Mr. Chaplin, you have anything? I'm sure you have a really wonderful drink for this evening, right?
I have also gone with a French drink. I walked over to the fridge and opened it up, and I had LaCroix. That's French. I think it means the water. I'm not sure what it means that. But it's infused with key lime. So technically, it's a mocktail. It's sparkling water with lime infused.
Okay. Settle down. This is a little too fancy for me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, we're really just crushing it here. So, Steve, hit us with the Warhammer fancy cocktail, please.
Okie doke. So I've gotten to where if I drink anything with rum in it, I like the Kraken rum. I don't know. I kind of like the bottle and I like the name. So here we go. So on their website, they have a bunch of cocktails, and this one's called the Bitter Beast from their website. So I had to rename that. You can't just go with Bitter Beast. It kind of works for Warhammer. So I named it the Hellbrute because I bet that dude is pretty bitter. If I had to guess.
Nice.
Very.
But, so it works. So you take 2 parts of Kraken Black Spiced Rum, 1 part of triple sec, 5 parts orange juice, a splash of lemon lime soda, as also known as Sprite, and 2 dashes of orange bitters. I went a little heavier on the orange bitters, but I had to add this in there because this is directly from the website. It says, for the recipe, fill a glass with crushed ice. If you don't have crushed ice, find ice and then crush it. That's about right. That's pretty 40K, huh? Just
I guess it's a little too on the nose. It's like it's like the before you eat Pop-Tarts, remove from aluminum foil before placing in toaster. It's kind of like one of those.
You got to get do not drink the shampoo. You got to be very literal. Just make sure.
Yeah, be careful.
But you just mix all that stuff up and then have a go at it. And it's actually pretty good. So you would think because the orange juice and lemon lime soda, it would be kind of summery and beachy. But all right, now this is gonna get way off in the weeds. But do you guys ever have that orange chocolate? It shows up around this time of the year.
Yeah,
that's kind of what this tastes like. So it seems to show up around the holidays, and I guess people give it as gifts. Did I make the list on the last episode? Maybe it should have. Okay.
No,
we should revise that. Anywho, so it has that real bitter orange taste, and then the dark rum has a very sugary, caramelly, not really chocolate taste, but it kind of brings it back to that heavier dessert mode. It's pretty good, man. It actually is a pretty good holiday going into Thanksgiving kind of drink. Probably wouldn't drink a lot of them. I don't know what your 2 parts is. I mean, maybe if you're mixing it in a gallon jug, that's a lot. If you're mixing it in a glass, we could probably talk about ounces. But yeah, man, I'm enjoying it. It's a good time.
Good.
Fun fact: the Terry's chocolate orange, which is released at Christmas, was actually created in York, in England.
Brilliant.
Interesting. So that
Yeah.
so the chocolate orange, like the
Yeah.
one with the little slices and all of that.
Yeah, in 1932.
Wow. You just have that just ready to go, chambered and ready to go. Whenever someone asks about a chocolate orange, you're just ready to roll off.
Fully prepared.
I was like, I know what he's talking about. We have these in England.
I can contribute to the podcast.
I could say something that will help somebody somewhere in a random quiz. And you have to like tap the top of them like a like a grenade, and they just open up like poink like that.
Wait a minute. You go around tapping the tops of grenades?
No, you just boom, and then it just opens up.
Yeah, I think he's thinking of a landmine, but just
either way, why are
just
we
let it
tapping
go.
the tops
Just
of explosives?
let it go. It works for a chocolate orange, and that's all that matters.
That's it.
Well, that's cool. So the Hellbrute, the Bitter Beast, I like
Bitter
that. And
Beast.
that's a cool name anyway. But I like the
Yeah, I
Hellbrute
like
better. Yeah, and the Hellbrute that I have with Chaos Space Marines is now Legend, right? For just taking out like half your force. Remember that?
We won't
Remember that
talk
time?
about that. I do
No?
remember
Okay.
that. I'm so sad.
Ugh.
Makes me bitter.
Maybe the Bitter Beast is just you.
It probably is.
Yeah. Well, very nice. Thank you for the cocktail. I will
pleasure.
have my milk and cookies stout. Lee, you enjoy your fancy French drink. Lawson, whatever yours was from peanut grits. Yeah, your peanut grits.
Yep.
Man, cheers and bottoms up, guys.
Cheers, gentlemen.
All right, let's get into the meat of the story, the big headline, which is the Warhammer Championships Preview Reactions Extravaganza. Which man, the WCP Warhammer Championships Preview. I'm telling you, they got to come up with a better name. But there was they had the championships, the actual tournament, I guess, and then they show off all of the new stuff coming out in the upcoming months, and they really rifled out the news. I mean, they hit it pretty hard. They had I can't remember the guy's last name. I think it's Paul from Forge the Narrative, the podcast, and he does all of the play-by-play. He's kind of the announcer guy for a lot of the tournaments, and his energy is infectious. He's so like hyped all the time. He just kind of stays at 11. And so he was on there going through all of the announcements. Really, really cool. But a lot of stuff to get to. So wanted to get just everybody's take on it. We'll start with the very first thing they showed off, which really was all around Necrons. And I'm going to mix in some recent news that came out this week along with the preview, because I think it just makes sense to talk about little things that are coming out in addition to the preview announcements that they made. So we'll start off with the Necrons. This was rumored. They were rumored to come out with some new stuff, and they showed off the model Orican the Diviner. I mean, I'm not a big lore guy when it comes to Warhammer in general, and Necrons are no different. They're spooky robot Terminator skeletons, and this is a new Terminator skeleton with some color on it. And I don't know what this guy does. I don't know if he's a big deal. I don't know much about him other than I thought it was a cool looking model because it's not just the metallic skeletal frame. They added a little notes of color to it, the blue and the green, and there's some purple in there. And I thought it looked pretty cool. But Lawson, we were chatting during the show when they were showing this thing off, and I'm like, well, that looks cool. And your reaction was kind of like meh. I don't know. Did you like this guy? I thought this guy looked cool.
He was okay. I don't know. I kind of just, when it comes to the Necron guys in general, I don't play Necrons, so the individual single characters that are just kind of there really wasn't anything to him. It's just yeah. He doesn't really feel standout, right? He doesn't feel like he's gonna make an impact visually on the table. Maybe from
Mhm.
a rules perspective or from a lore perspective, it's substantial, but from just a model on tabletop, it didn't really do anything. I mean, let's go back to a preview we had a while back. Do you remember the Admech on stilts? Admech on stilts, terrible model, but it's gonna make an impact on the table because of how atrocious it is. This Necron character will not make an impact because he's not good or bad. He kind of just falls in the middle, which not necessarily a negative. It's just I don't know. I I guess I would have expected a little bit more, having seen models like the giant monolith or the Silent King, and
Mhm.
even the Stormlord looked pretty cool.
I just once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. But you know, at like Halloween, where people dress their animals up and they put them in like a Daisy outfit, it looks like he's got like like someone's like, "Hey, dude, sorry, you got to go out there and distract everyone. Put the Daisy costume on." Like I can't unsee it. I'm like, you've got this Necron wearing a Daisy outfit around his head. It's like, "Hey guys, I'm here to divine." So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's a no
No.
from me.
it's a yeah, it's a no for me, dog. You like
Yeah.
it the daisy thing, it kind of looks like a flower, now. And then the little orbs behind him, I got more of a Christmas ornament vibe. Just, kind of like the just but that said, the pose looks cool. I think he's got this weird robot scorpion tail thing coming out, and or snake, whatever you want to call it. I think it looks kind of cool. His pose is cool. I like the colors that they put on there, and it mixes it up a little bit. It doesn't just scream some other model, right? Because half the time you look at the Necron models, other than the Silent King, or maybe what's the other model? The main warlord. I can't think of his name. The one that I always have a problem pronouncing.
Zarist.
Oh, yeah.
Imhotep.
The
Imhotep.
No,
No.
the three-legged guy who sucks the
Yeah,
brain matter from the dead
Yeah,
dude.
the Zaris.
Zeris, Illuminor
Illuminor
Zeris.
Zeris. Yeah, okay, there we
There you
go.
go.
Sorry. But I mean, if you look at him, you look at the Silent King. It's to me, those stand out, but everything else is just kind of muted. This may not be like that. Of course, it depends on how you paint them, but I don't know. I thought it was okay, but I'm sure somebody looks at this as any Necron player will probably be really excited because it's different than what they're used to. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
It's kind of weird though, because I mean, I don't know a lot of the lore, but the only time he really comes up, there's a book called The Infinite and the Divine, which is kind of funny actually, because it's him and Trazen or whatever. But that's the only place that he really shows up that I know of. That
Mm-hmm.
like he's a real character in. I mean, he's just a high level chronomancer, so it's not like it's a big deal. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think if you really weren't into that book or really weren't into Necrons, you're kind of like, nice Daisy
Mm-hmm.
head. So
Flower
it's just,
face.
yeah, flower
Flower
face.
face.
Go see through time, whatever you do, and so yeah, it's man, because you have Illuminor Zeris, and I think that model's great. And I'm still, even though that's at least a 2-year-old model now, maybe more.
Mm-hmm. Still looks good.
Still would
Mhm.
rather pick that up
Yeah.
over this one.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that they did a good job of rebooting a little bit, right? They didn't go crazy with the Necrons, and they don't really need to. I think they got rid of the derpiest models, which were the actual Necron warriors with the Lego laser beam things on their guns. They got rid of those guys, which was good. And they are coming out with the Codex, right? So that's going to be coming soon. They showed off that this week. They showed the collector's edition. Still not worth the extra money. I don't care. Like it's like it's the equivalent of buying cosmetics in a video game. Like like my son is forever buying the battle pass on Fortnite, and he's probably spent like $150 at this point on skins. So it's not new levels or anything. I just don't get it. That's probably an old man statement, but I just don't understand spending more money for no new extra content. It's just you get a fancier cover, and it's really not even that fancy. It just
Okay.
uh, Okay.
So
Yeah, please.
okay, just hear me out for a second. Although I agree with you, how many exclusive dice have you purchased?
Oh.
Listen, this
And
isn't.
wait a minute, hold on, my rant's not done. Wait your turn. Did you need those dice? The answer is no, you did not need those dice. You could buy regular cheap, just the white with black dot 6-sided dice, and you can roll those in a bucket, and it's the same thing as buying your fancy Warhammer dice. Now, the caveat to all this is I'm not making fun of you because I have purchased the collector's edition Thousand Suns book. So it's a to each his own kind of thing. As someone who has purchased the collector's book, there is something that is internally very satisfying when you pick it up and you look at it and you go, "That's a cool looking book," and it's just the cover art. It's cool. Is it worth the $30? No, it really isn't. But it's cool. You look at it and you're like, ah, that's neat. The same
Okay.
feeling you get when you look
Fair
at your
enough.
chaos dice. Ah, those are neat.
Fair enough. All right. So,
all right.
I'm not going to admit defeat because that's just
fine.
not something that I do. But I will acknowledge your point, which is not the same thing. Let's just be clear. Speaking of dice, they did show off some Necron dice this week, and I'm totally getting them. And I think those are like $32. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
completely different than
But you could
the custom
save
cover.
$2 and get the custom codex. Wow, look at that. See, I'm saving you money and getting you cool stuff.
Okay. So anyway, they showed off also this week. They more of a recap of what they've already announced. The Imhotep the Stormlord. They had the Overlord with Translocation Shroud. These are crazy names. And Tachyon Arrow, Royal Warden, new Combat Patrol, some cool new Necron stuff coming. I think any Necron player. I am a pseudo Necron player because the Necron army was originally started by my son, and then he fell off the wagon and went into Fortnite buying skins, and so I was left with the Necron army, and then I kind of finished it out. So a lot of cool stuff, and they showed off also some, and then we got to get to the other content for the thing. They showed off some of the new rules coming out for the codex. Steve, I know that you had sent some comments earlier about being impressed with some of the things that they showed off, especially specifically the hyperphasing and the detachment.
That's really neat. You're basically going to get to remove your players at the end of your opponent's turn. You can, depending on how if you have a 1,000 point army, 2,000 point army, you can select 2, 3, or 4 units, and at the end of your opponent's turn, you basically remove your selections from the board and put them back in the strategic reserve, and then you can, in your movement phase, put them back on the board anywhere you want, within the rules. So it's like, we're going to do all this, I'm going to let you do this, and then we're going to disappear, and then we're going to show up somewhere else. So it's it's more or less a just you don't get your whole army, obviously, but it's basically a redeployment. You're like, man, that was not good, so we're going to move over here. So
that's cool.
That could be very neat.
Yeah, and they did that in the Pariah Nexus show, and I thought that was really cool because the whole hyperphasing thing really leans into that narrative of them kind of going in and out, the death marks being able to warp out and come out in another place. So a lot of the rules that they were showing off that are previewing as part of the codex were specifically around this, pull them out, put them in reserve, pop them in somewhere else. I just thought that was really cool, and I'm always interested to see when they have game mechanics that really make you feel like you're really playing the army like it was intended to be played. So same thing with orcs. Like whenever they have them kind of inflict some kind of self harm, in the vein of trying to just inflict damage on the opponent and just kind of going sprint straight into the front lines. That always makes me feel like, yes, I'm kind of killing myself, but it sure is cool just to be very orky and blow up, while I'm hurting you at the same time. It's always really cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of cool Necron stuff. They then showed off a lot of Dark Angels material.
My boys.
I know, Steve. I was like, you were a little late to the to our watch party that we had, and they kept showing off models, and I'm like, Steve, you're gonna go broke.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough.
The kids aren't going to college.
Mm-mm.
No toys for Christmas.
Nope.
It's game over for you, man.
No braces for you.
Yeah. So they showed off the Asmodee. Is that
Mhm.
right? Asmodee. Yeah.
Asmodee.
Asmodee. Whatever.
Eh.
They showed off a really cool Dark Angels model with a bunch of smoke. A bunch of smoke coming out of him. Almost looked like ooze or goop.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's
What'd
a
you think of this
little.
guy?
It's a little weird.
I say apparently it's called enigmatic smoke.
Oh.
Okay.
I have no idea what that means, but it's smoky.
It looks like goop to me.
It's mysterious. I think it's supposed to like make him more menacing and terrifying. I don't know. It is pretty cool. I mean,
I think it looks cool, but it still looks kind of like syrup coming out of his.
It's a little heavy. It's heavy smoke. It's I don't know what it's made of.
Looked cool,
but it is
though.
cool. It looks so much better than the Finecast model, and he is. He's an interrogator chaplain, I guess, is really what he is. So he's going to play, I would assume, in some sort of chaplain kind of role. Definitely a good melee artist, that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can make him without the smoke on his backpack and different head options and that kind of stuff. But it was really neat an update for certain. And there's, I hope that Belial will be the next update, and he's the Grandmaster of the Deathwing. So I'm sure that all their characters are going to get a little bit of a push, and they're upsizing them, etc. So that's exciting. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Are you going to go with the hooded version, or are you going to go with the bear skull?
I don't know. I think the bear skull looks pretty cool.
So I was going to say hooded. When I think Dark
Really?
Angels, I think hooded.
But
I mean,
I love
doesn't
chaplain
that go
helmets.
with but doesn't that go with the whole theme of being a dark angel? Is that you're dark and mysterious?
They're just moody emo boys. You want to do?
Yeah, but I mean, cool
Yeah.
model. I like that they're doing something different. Even though I'm not trying to like make fun of the smoke and the heavy smoke or whatever, the syrup that we're calling it. I still think it looks cool. It's different. It's not something that they normally do, which I'm always a fan of. So, but that was not the last of the Dark Angels news. They started showing off the Deathwing Terminators. So, Steve, what'd you think of these guys?
Not crazy about the helmets. They look straight out of the Grey Knights. I don't know. The thing is like Deathwing guys are old, right? I mean, they've been around a long time, so have mixed emotions about this upsized Terminator armor in a way, which is fine. It's cool, but it lost a lot of the old variant Terminator armor look. Does that make sense? And I don't know. I mean, I assume they're not making more of that stuff because that's the whole 40K thing. We can use it, but we can't make it. They look good. Like I said, not a fan of the helmets. They did a good job of not changing them drastically. They left a lot of the iconography on there, which is fun. I'm really interested in the whole shield and sword combo because right now that's not really a thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's
are
like
you going? You're going with swords, so you're not going to go with maces, I guess.
Well, if I went with the knights, I don't know. I guess it just depends. Like I like my knights that I have now. I don't know.
Is this
It's
enough
hard to say.
to sway you away? I mean, is this enough to get you to buy new models?
Probably not at the moment because I have enough Deathwing stuff that more than I would field in an army because they're really expensive. I have 4. I have like 20 Deathwing somethings of some variant. I would rather much rather have the 2 HQs or well Asmodee and the possibility of a Terminator HQ. I don't. I'm not. I'm gonna say the word need, but it's not. They're not. They're not cool enough. I do like the size difference, but they're not quite cool enough that I feel like I'm going to go out and buy that. I want to wait and see what else they come out with. I want to see if
Yeah.
they update like the bikes and maybe the land speeders or anything like that, because they're just so expensive to put on the board points wise. I don't really want to have stuff that's just sitting around that's not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not a huge fan of Space
Mm.
Marines in general, but I do like the Terminators.
Mm-hmm.
I personally like these a little better than the new Terminator sculpts that they have, because the wolf looking helmets, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of throw me off. This is to me a little more intimidating, because
Okay.
the wolf helmets don't do much for me personally. But I like the Terminators. Lee, I know you are, generally like the Terminators, especially with some of the stuff that you feel. What were your thoughts on these guys?
I mean, when I looked at them at first, I was like, yeah, that but I don't play Dark Angels, so I'm not going to be like, ooh, when I compare them to the Leviathan release, I mean, I like the Leviathan release set, and I think obviously you can paint them how you want and you can kit bash them how you want. But these ones, I was like, oh, they're cool. That was it really. There was nothing
Yeah.
stand out apart from there was the one thing that caught my eye was the little guy that I think he's called the Watcher in the Dark, and apparently he's like the teleport like beacon. So you put him down and he just waves his incense around and apparently they appear. I was like, well, that's cool. Like that. He looks like a Jawa from Star Wars. Like it's like, what dee like, and then they appear. He caught my eye, but the rest I was like, oh, they're good, but they won't be in any of my armies.
Well, he looks like a Gretchen to me. So it's like if a Gretchen found somebody else's cloak, right? Found a Space Marine's cloak and stole it and put it on, and then found, like, it's like a Gretchen that's trying to dress up for Halloween as as like an acolyte or something. I just thought that was funny.
They'll
Yeah,
never know it's me.
yeah. Well, I mean, I thought it was cool just to see the Dark Angels get some attention. So, cool stuff. I know that they're a fairly popular chapter within the Space Marines, so I'm always, especially since Steve, since you play them, it was good
Mm-hmm.
to see those. So pretty cool, Dark Angels. Let's move now over to the next announcement, which is really, I mean, they showed off some of this, but they also talked about it on the Warcom site this week. They showed off the Codex roadmap of what's coming up soon, or the latest releases. So we've got, we've had Tyranids and Space Marines. And then coming up soon towards the end of this year, I would assume within the next, well, the Necrons are coming up in the next week or so. So you've got AdMech and then Necrons this year, and then coming in the first part of next year, so spring 2024, you got Dark Angels, Orcs, Custodes, Tau, and Chaos Space Marines. So, I mean, that'll be a big release for this crew. At least Dark Angels and then Orcs for me, and then Chaos Space Marines. And then coming in the summer, we got Gene Stealer Cults and Adeptus Sororitas. So the one thing that I thought was interesting though is that I was Lawson. We were talking earlier about your circus magicians,
Mhm.
Thousand Sons, not getting a codex release anytime soon, and they're a fairly popular army. So, I mean, I know you may be a little bitter that you're not getting a codex, but on the plus side, it saves you $60, right?
That's true. Of course, I'm always sad to see my circus magicians not get a codex. The dream is to see the codex for them, and quite honestly, along with some new releases of some different models. I get tired of fielding 25 rubric marines all the time, but personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it kind of strange to point that out. They've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 codexes in spring and only 2 codexes in summer.
I mean,
I kind of feel like
maybe they're
totally
not
could have
just
squeezed.
yeah, but maybe they're just not releasing that, right? Maybe they're just not giving us that information right now.
And that's fair. That may come out a little bit later. Those may be the confirmed ones. We know these will hit by summer. The others haven't been tuned yet, and they're still being worked on. So that's okay. Fair enough. I just kind of thought that was like, wow, that's a jam packed spring and looking like a sparse summer so far. So
Yeah, I think the other thing that this roadmap tells us too is when they're going to release new models. I assume that they will get. That's what we have been getting so far. Whenever there's a new codex, that
mhm.
means new models are coming.
Yeah,
So I mean that's exciting because we have the Dark Angels that have already been previewed. My assumption then would be that the next preview they're going to talk about orcs, custodes, maybe Tau. So Lee, I know that something. I don't know what they would release. I don't know what Tau necessarily need. Feel like they have a lot of models, a good range. But is there anything in particular that you would like to see as part of this Tau Codex release, other than faction dice? Right, that's the big thing that everybody wants.
Totally need some dice with little towel faces on. Um, I mean, I think for me, I'm just looking forward to having like updated rules. I think when you have those updated rules and you have everything that you need, like I've got that Tau army, that's sitting there. I've currently got Commander Farsight. He's taking a bath in alcohol because I got to repaint him. But I think yeah, I'm looking forward to it being out so I can play the new rules and get to learn,
Hmm.
how to play. I think previous editions I was playing with rules that were maybe a little bit old in comparison to other codexes. So it'll be great having that out. And if there's new models, great. And if not, it's okay. I've got plenty to use and play with. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always looking forward to the next codex. The only thing I guess what I didn't play a ton of orcs in ninth edition. I played a ton. I mean, and towards the well at the beginning I did, and then as I started getting more armies, so I have the ninth edition orc codex, but I didn't really play it very much. So I'm gonna buy all these. I'll buy the Necrons. I'll buy
Mhm.
orcs. I'll buy Chaos Space Marines, and hopefully I actually get to play them more than once before 11th edition comes out. So you know
Has
that's just the
anybody
way it
bought
goes.
the? Does anybody have the Space Marines Codex from 10th?
I do.
Do
Yeah.
Yeah,
you?
I've got it.
I need to pick that up.
Yeah, you should. I can sell
Yeah.
it to you, and just I can pretend that it's the collector's edition, and I'll just charge you
Mm,
$30 extra.
Man, you're
What do
all
you think?
smart. That's great.
so so the codex roadmap looked cool. I'm excited about that. See what's coming out there. Let's switch over now to some Age of Sigmar. They moved over to, and I continue to be impressed with the Age of Sigmar models. They always look, well, at least in my opinion, they always look so much better than the 40K models every single time. They showed off their Flesheater Courts models, and the big boy that looked super duper creepy was Ushoran, the Mortarch of Delusion. And Lawson, you were sending texts in all caps the whole time, and something about you called it. I don't know. I usually tend, anytime that you're right, I tend to just kind of move on. So if you want to skip over this section and move on to the next thing without any comments, I'm totally cool with that. But I'll give you the option.
I will not skip this at all. I've been waiting all night for this opportunity. If you recall, on a fine summer evening, about way back in the not so distant past,
I don't
we had
remember
a
that.
conversation. Okay, well, then you're a loser. We talked about previews and expectations, what we kind of thought we might come up
Yeah.
on the preview, and I suspected that they might do a Mortarch for the Flesheater Courts, and it's honestly fantastic to finally have that Mortarch for the Flesheater Courts, and they absolutely they knocked this one out of the park. He looks incredible. Do not play Flesh Eater Courts. Their models just were very honestly kind of old. I've put together some of the old Flesh Eater Court kits, and they are yikes. Um, so just never got into him because of that. But this might be changing my mind. I don't know. Such a cool model. I will definitely pick it up to complete my Mortarch collection. I own all the Mortarchs except for this one now. So this one I've gotta complete the set. But as far as a Flesh Eater Courts army, I don't know. But this model is It's very impressive. It
This
looks really
thing
good.
is so gross. Like looking at it, it has faces, like people crying out in anguish, like in its fur. Is that what you want to call it? Is that fur?
Those are loving subjects who are praising the awesomeness
That's right.
of this Mortark.
Well, I mean, and the model looks amazing. I think it's definitely a centerpiece model. So going back to our gift list ideas, this would be a phenomenal gift. For anyone that's looking for this. This will probably run, my guess, around 140 US dollars, something like that, 150. Maybe a little cheaper, just depending on how big it is. But this looks like a big boy with a lot of
Hmm.
cool detail on it. Um, the other thing that I wanted to mention is something that they talked about as part of the news release was the armies of Ushoran, and they showed off all of these absolutely disgusting models with tons of stretched out skin. There's a flag that one of the models is waving that's got like a thumbs up on it. It's so gross. I mean, and there's one that has skin stretched over a drum. I mean, but this is Flesheater Courts, so I guess it's supposed to be gross. But just looking through some of these screenshots, wow, absolutely disgusting.
I want to know more about this terrain piece. It's just a big old pile of bodies.
Yeah,
Right.
in the corner of one, it's like what?
Yeah, that's what I just
Well,
saw.
that's I don't. Is that a real thing?
I don't know. It should be.
Or it could be a kit bash. This it
Mm,
could easily be something that they spent. They took 10 different sets and kit bashed one little set piece for this. You
yeah.
never know with these guys. Sometimes they just throw that out there.
I think the more and
But
more you look at these models, the more and more you see stuff you're like, who came up with that? Like, there's a guy riding a bat, blowing a trumpet that's got a human's face stretched over it, so its mouth is where the sound comes out. Who comes up with that? Like, hey guys, I got an idea. Let's take a trumpet and let's stretch someone's mouth over it, so the sound's coming out of it. Like, but I mean, the more you look, the more you're like, man, these are. I mean, they look like a lot of work went into, but they're
hmm
gross.
yes, absolutely disgusting. And I've painted some of the Chaos Space Marine models, and most of them aren't like super gross, but every now and then you'll get one that has some like infected skin on it. And while I'm painting, I'm conflicted because part of me is like, wow, this is going to look really cool when I'm done, and then as I'm painting it, I'm like, this is so gross. I don't know if I like painting this or not, but still, cool looking army if you're into gross skin, I guess.
Mm,
But more power to you, I guess. Um, Age of Sigmar stuff, really cool. Switching back over now to the 40k universe, they showed off AdMech and the Codex. I I'm not an AdMech player. I'm not a huge fan of the AdMech models. I do like the how they've represented the AdMech in the Warhammer Plus, the Warhammer TV shows. I do like the
mhm.
kind of the neutral, no emotion type of a narrative that they're weaving in for AdMech. I think that's really cool. They talked about the Codex release this week, and just looking over some of the abilities and the enhancements, very similar in my opinion to what they did with Necrons, just being able to lean into the narrative for their abilities. A lot of the AdMech stuff within the codex that they showed off was all about staying close to objectives or designating specific objectives as targets, and then after you've done that, as part of the ability, you get extra goodies for your army. You get to reroll wound rolls, or you get to do extra damage or something like that against armies that are close to other objectives. So my my take on this again is very robotic in the AdMech world. It's all about this is we put in the commands into the computer, and you have designated targets, and once you execute, you get advantages and things like that. So again, not a big AdMech player, but I like the fact that they are really leaning into making you feel like you're playing an AdMech army when you got those rules in there. And then of course with the collector's edition, does look good. Not worth extra $30, but just my opinion. But new models incoming for AdMech. I hope that some of the other releases get better ones than the Inspector Gadget model that's coming out for AdMech. But new Combat Patrol box, new dice, which has me excited. Even though I have no need for the AdMech dice, but they do look kind of cool. So I don't know. Is there any desire? Anybody know anybody that plays AdMech? I don't. I don't think no friends. I haven't even encountered a stranger that plays AdMech.
I think if we turned around and said, "Hey, you got to pick a brand new army for the new year. You just got to buy a Combat Patrol and then play that out." I mean, the Combat Patrol box looks cool. You've got the Leonardo da Vinci like flying guys, and then you've got the guys on the kind of the AdMech like horses, and I don't know what their names in it. And it looks like you've got is it the Scutari or something like that? I can't remember what they're called, but that looks cool. Like that would be something that I'd be like, oh, that'd be from the point of view of not having a whole army, but just starting like a Combat Patrol, playing in a Combat Patrol league. Like I could be tempted by that box just because I just think it looks cool. Like just especially the Da Vinci flyers, they look cool.
Well, you'd be required to get the Inspector Gadget model if you ever did that's the other thing. That's Dad Hammer rule 183. If you buy a AdMech the Combat Patrol box, you're required to buy the Inspector Gadget model. So don't forget that rule. That's a very important rule. It's been around for a long time.
I'll build a giant pile of rocks and have him like looking over just a little bit.
I mean, what else? Yeah, because what else would he be doing? Like, is he in mid? Yeah, hanging up a picture, for you up on your above your stairs. Like, why? What in the battlefield? I guess is he mid, like pose where he's looking above the rocks or looking above the battlefield to try to snipe somebody? I don't understand why they could have put springs or something on his kneecaps and then like shrunk him down a little more to make it look like he's getting ready to do go gadget, but I just thought it was so stupid.
Goofy.
I know I'm not the only one,
so bad.
I feel bad for the designer. Somebody poured their heart and soul into it, and it's like I think we talked about this. It's like when your kid shows you their artwork, and you can't. Oh, what is this? Oh, this is you and mommy and a car. I'm like, oh, I totally see that. Somebody came in with this design, and I'm like, oh, and what is this? It's a really cool AdMech model that's a sniper. Oh yeah, I could totally see that.
maybe he understood the assignment and the assignment was bad.
Yeah, there we go. It's not his.
Hey, let's put this guy on big legs.
Yep.
What do you
Everybody
think?
will love it. Everybody will love it. Yeah. Well, I'm sure AdMech players are excited. Not to dump on them too much. There were a couple extra things to round out the announcements, and they were coming really, really fast with these announcements, which was pretty cool. They didn't have to wait long. Usually they'll announce something and then go into talking about it for way too long, and I've already moved on to something else. But this was they would talk about it just for a couple of minutes and then move on to the next announcement. They showed off some Kill Team stuff, which I thought was cool.
Awesome.
And this one was all about Chaos Space Marines. They showed off the Night Lords, which add a almost like a creepy vibe to the Chaos Space Marines. They're not just your typical Chaos Space Marines. They added some of the gross skin, and one guy's got a hand on it, and just some weird looking stuff. And then there was one picture where they showed off a cape that was made out of skin. Like, come on, man! Like, what's the deal? What's the deal with this,
dude? So it's weird because they don't like warp stuff, right? They don't actually like chaosy things. They just don't like the Imperium, but they like skinning people. I guess if you do what you love. You never work a day in your life. But they take it right on up there. And if you read the books, you're like, wow, these guys are really out there.
Yeah.
They're just sociopaths and psychopaths. They have like basically from a murder planet. That's all they do apparently, is run around and kill each other.
The
And
murder
that's
planet of New Zealand.
New Zealand
You got it.
with their peanut grits.
With the peanut grits. That's what they don't get gruel, right? They only eat peanut grits. That's why they skin people. They're so mad about being fed peanut grits for years. They're like,
who wouldn't?
We're gonna skin them.
Who wouldn't be? That sounds gross.
The next person that brings me that is getting skinned so bad.
Yeah, I mean, Kill Team. We've talked about Kill Team multiple times on this show, and I like Kill Team. I don't love it, and I think it's cool that they're continuing to support it for people that really still want to play Kill Team. But ever since boarding actions came out, and then the combat patrol stuff, that just have moved on from Kill Team. The one thing I did miss on this particular show was some terrain. I didn't get any terrain. So I was hoping for some terrain. There was some possibility that we would get some, ended up not being the case. So unfortunate, but maybe next time. They finished up the show, the preview, the Warhammer Championships Preview, with some old world announcements, and they showed off a huge model, the Necrolith Bone Dragon. And this thing is massive. It got a lot of I was watching on the Twitch stream and looking at the chat. It's just scrolling so quickly, and everybody was keying on the skeletal cat that they showed off, that was sitting on top of a part of the model. I don't know, like, Lawson, what's your thought on this Tomb King model? Big, huge bone dragon looking thing.
Okay, so I have weird mixed well, hold on, wait a minute. I have weird mixed feelings. The model itself was awesome. It was a super cool looking model. My mixed feelings kind of come up when it's just all just tied to the old world in general. I think old world as a concept is super cool, but it feels for me a lot like 30K feels for 40K. I already play 40K. I already play Age of Sigmar. Why would I invest, in another game that goes backwards, right? That's made essentially for what to me feels like nostalgia. It's made for those people that played old world, or played the older games and then never really moved into the new games when they came out with them. They were like, no, I like the old ones. I'm going to stay in these old editions. I like them better. And that's fine. It just kind of feels like they're catering to them a little bit with this. And again, totally cool. I think the model is great. I wish that I could find an excuse to use it in Age of Sigmar. I kind of don't really have one. If they moved Tomb Kings over to Age of Sigmar in some kind of way, absolutely, I would for sure do it. I really love the Tomb Kings. I played Tomb Kings a ton in the PC game, the Total War Warhammer series. That's Tomb Kings and Vampires. That's all I play.
Yeah.
Ton of fun. So if they brought it over, I'd play it. It's like a weird love-hate. It's a super cool model, but I don't know if I could get behind it, because I just don't know where I would use it necessarily. And I don't feel like buying this one just to paint it.
Yeah, I get that. What's funny is that, Lee, as they were announcing this, because I remember, when we first started talking about Warhammer, and you were asking me like, hey, what do you do for fun? And I'm like, well, I've got a hobby that I paint these little figures, and I think that's all I said. And you were like, oh, you mean like Warhammer? And I'm like, what? Like, what just happened? And you started talking about how you first started playing the game. So what were your thoughts on this model? Does this give you, like, opposite from what Lawson is saying? Does this give you the nostalgia that you're looking for?
Oh yeah, I mean, when I started playing, all my friends, it was back when there were lead models, and so one of my friends had elves, and I always wanted to be elves, but we couldn't have the same army. So the only thing that I could afford and play were the skeleton army. So as soon as I saw this sculpt, it just reminded me of that, like these tiny little skeletons that were literally that color. And what was great about it was that the plastic was cream colored. so you actually never had to paint them. They look like skeletons straight out the box. But
Nice.
the only problem was the glue that I had was a little bit too strong, so half of the skeletons kind of had melted arms because they hadn't quite learned how to. But when I saw that, I was like, oh man, that's cool. And that just kind of made me, as a kid, like just remember first playing the game. And we didn't know how to play. We moved the pieces based on the book. And then when we got to actually fight, it was one would roll a dice and the other one would roll a dice. And if a 6 beat a 4, it was like, you're dead. And then that was how we played.
That's a good way to play.
It was really simple. It was really simple. But yeah, I think that's amazing. I think it really does have all that nostalgia in it. But again, I'm so bought into 40k, and then I've got the Seraphon army still to paint. I can't jump into another game system.
Well, I think that's where a lot of people are. It's just, we talked about the Legion Imperialis, right? The epic 30k, 40k, whatever. I mean, it's another game system, and we rarely get to play as it is just because of the busyness of life. And to have another game to play, they have so many games, and I think it's almost like the FOMO, feeling, like where you, oh man, there's another game out there that looks really cool. I bet that's a lot of fun. I should probably be playing that. When you're looking at your schedule and find, like, okay, if we're going to get together and we're going to play a game that's going to take at least 4 hours, even if you played a small game, it's going to take at least a couple hours. Then you got to get there and you get food and everything else. If we're going to get together, we're going to play the game that I have spent the most time learning or the most time painting and assembling models. And now you've got another one. So you've got 40k, you've got Age of Sigmar and Kill Team. Warcry is out there. And then you've got Old World. And then, I've always wanted to play Necromunda. It's like I just don't have time to do all of this. So as cool as the Warhammer Old World looks, there's just I don't see myself ever touching it, unfortunately, because it was the first game that I played. It was my introduction to Warhammer as well. So, a little unfortunate, but I'm sure a lot of people are really excited. And this may be their entry into Warhammer. So there's something for everyone. I think that's one of the coolest things about this hobby is that there's a lot of different entry points into the hobby, and you don't have to go, if you don't care about machine guns and whatnot, you don't have to go into 40k. You can do something completely different, which I think is really cool and very unique to what we like here. So a lot of cool stuff for the Warhammer Championships preview. Hopefully we'll see more news and more screenshots and all kinds of stuff, and some release dates coming up hopefully soon. But I would assume that towards the end of the year, we're not going to see too much in the way of that. It's really just to focus on the product that is already out. And that's where they're going to be the focus for Games Workshop / Warhammer, whatever they're called now. But speaking of product that's already out, just to kind of round things up towards the end of the show here, they have some festive things. I always like this time of year when they show off the new, Warhammer themed winter gifts, Christmas stuff, and this year's no different. They've got a chaos hat and scarf, which I just think is hilarious. It's like a red and black and looks very festive that you could wear to a Christmas party or something, but it's got skulls on it, which I'm sure, I mean, maybe 10 years ago someone would question, but now people wear ugly Christmas sweaters with Darth Vader on it, so people don't question that as much anymore.
Absolutely.
I do have a question. Does it match the dice?
Oh, it needs to. If it doesn't match the dice, then if I had the hat and the scarf, and I would just carry around dice with me all the time. And whenever they'd ask me a question, I'd be like, I don't know. I got to roll d6s to see whether or not you die.
It's like real life D&D. Every decision is decided by a dice.
If I turn up and you're wearing a chaos hat and scarf, I'm walking away. I'm like, you're on your own. You've gone too far.
It's too evil. It's too evil.
You crossed the line, sir. You have crossed the line.
But I mean, but if I did the hat and scarf, and then I also was rocking the red Gabo socks, I mean, come on, those socks that they have the squig and the gobbo socks. Those just look so amazing. Like
Just get some get the little gobbo goggles too, man. Just let's go all in.
If you're gonna do it right.
Yes.
You know?
Truly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff. So I plan on making a trip to the Warhammer store soon, just to go check it all out, because they usually have stockings and Christmas ornaments and all kinds of stuff. So pretty cool. Well, that's a ton of news. A lot of awesome stuff coming out from the Warhammer site, and more to come, I'm sure. Thank you so much for everybody listening. Thank you for Lee. I appreciate your attendance and your banter, your extra comments, and your fancy French drink that you brought to the table. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, it's been fun. Looking forward to being part of a few more if you invite me back.
Yeah, I just hope you can ramp up next time and maybe go for an Italian drink. Is there an Italian
LaCroix
soft drink?
I don't know. I'm sure I can find one.
You just have some some fizzy water.
San Pellegrino.
There we go. That's what you got to drink.
That's good stuff.
Well, with that, I am David the Warboss, and we will see you next time on Dad Hammer. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.